What is up, guys? Delboy here. So Gennady Golovkin scheduled a press conference today to announce his new trainer. Obviously, Gennady Golovkin and Abel Sanchez recently parted company, but the new trainer for Gennady Golovkin is going to be Jonathan Banks. Now, you may remember Jonathan Banks from training Vladimir Klitschko at the end of his title reign. After Emanuel Steward passed away, Jonathan Banks took over the reins and he guided Vladimir Klitschko in the back end of his career. And also Jonathan Banks trained Dillian Whyte for his fight with Anthony Joshua. Jonathan Banks also trains female world champion Cecilia Breakhouse. So Jonathan Banks is known. He has been a trainer now for a few years, and also Jonathan Banks was a former pro fighter himself. He got to a fairly decent level in the cruiserweight and even heavyweight division. From what I see online, the reaction to this move is fairly negative. A lot of people aren't really impressed with Jonathan Banks as a trainer, and I think that stems from his time with Vladimir Klitschko, where obviously Klitschko lost to both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. A lot of people seem to think Jonathan Banks is a yes man and he's only really there for the money. That could be the case. Me, myself, I'm not sold on Jonathan Banks as a trainer, but I think it would be harsh to judge Jonathan Banks based on his work with Klitschko. Obviously, Klitschko had a super strong bond with Emanuel Steward. Whoever replaced him was going to have a hard time. And not only that, Vladimir Klitschko was coming towards the end of his career. He was an aging fighter. So given the circumstances, maybe it's a bit harsh to judge Jonathan Banks on his work with Klitschko. But, most people weren't really impressed with what he did with Klitschko. And even James Ali Bashir, who obviously was in the Klitschko camp, he called Jonathan Banks a bit of a yes man, so maybe there's credence to those rumours. Maybe James Ali Bashir is salty because he wasn't Klitschko's trainer after Emanuel passed, or maybe he's being honest and maybe Jonathan Banks is a yes man. We will see. Maybe Jonathan Banks and Gennady Golovkin can forge a good partnership. Maybe they can have a good run together, who knows? Maybe the change of scenery and change of personnel will be good for Golovkin. That could be a possibility. And who knows, maybe Jonathan Banks can guide Gennady Golovkin to a couple of big wins. And if that happens, boxing fans will start calling Jonathan Banks one of the best trainers in boxing. That's how fickle us boxing fans are. But I have my reservations on Jonathan Banks as a trainer, but time will tell. I'm not going to call him a bad trainer, because the reality is we need to see Jonathan Banks work with several fighters to see if he's any good or not. Working with a couple of fighters and it not working out doesn't mean you're a bad trainer. Just because it didn't really work out with Klitschko and Dillian Whyte doesn't mean Jonathan Banks can't make a success of his partnership with Gennady Golovkin. But we will see. At worst case, Jonathan Banks, he's probably a steady pair of hands for Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin is already an elite level fighter. Regardless of who's in his corner, he can still beat world class fighters. It's just, when you've got a fighter like Golovkin, can the trainer get that extra 5% out of him on fight night? We will see if Jonathan Banks can do that. I was surprised by this announcement, to be quite honest with you. I made a video about who I would like to see as Golovkin's next trainer. I said in that video, if I had to bet on who would be his next trainer, I would have said Max Golovkin, his brother. But the guys I wanted to see train Golovkin were either Buddy McGirt or Anatoly Lomachenko. They were the guys I wanted to see train Golovkin. But it's not to be. It's Jonathan Banks. How do you feel about this move? Can Jonathan Banks bring something extra out in Golovkin? Or do you not have faith in him to do so? Share your thoughts below. Peace.